The morning I finally left, I made him breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee, exactly the way he liked it. I set it on the table, kissed him on the cheek, and told him I was going to the grocery store. He did not even look up from his phone. I never came back. And everything he thought was his, the bank account, the house, the life he had built on top of me, was already gone. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. His name was Ryan. I met him when I was 26, at a friend's birthday party. He was charming in a way that felt almost too good to be true. Attentive. Funny. He remembered small details about things I had told him weeks before. He made me feel seen in a way I had never felt before. We moved in together after 8 months. Looking back, I know that was too fast. But at the time it felt romantic. Like we were so sure of each other that waiting was pointless. The first time he told me what to wear, I laughed. I thought he was joking. He was not. It started small. A comment here and there. That dress is a little too short, don't you think? Do you really need to go out with your friends again this week? I just think you look better when your hair is down. Small things. Easy to dismiss, easy to explain away as concern or preference or love. But small things have a way of growing. Within a year, I was checking with him before making any plans. I was sending him my location every time I left the house. I had stopped seeing 2 of my closest friends because he did not like them, and arguing about it was just not worth the exhaustion anymore. I had started dressing differently, talking differently, laughing less. I did not notice it happening. That is the thing no one tells you about control. It does not arrive all at once. It tiptoes in, one small concession at a time, until one day you look in the mirror and you do not recognize the person looking back at you. The financial control came next. He suggested very reasonably that it made more sense for him to manage our shared expenses since he earned more. I agreed. Within 6 months, my own paycheck was going into a joint account that I needed his approval to access. He framed it as a system, as efficiency, as teamwork. What it actually was a cage. I remember the day I realized how bad it had gotten. My sister called me on a Tuesday afternoon and asked if I wanted to come to her daughter's birthday party that weekend. A simple question, a family event. And my first thought, before any feeling of excitement or love or wanting to be there for my niece, was, I have to ask Ryan. I sat with that thought for a long time after I hung up the phone. When did I become someone who has to ask permission to attend her own niece's birthday party? I went to the bathroom, ran the water so he would not hear me, and I cried. Not the kind of crying that releases something, the kind that tightens everything. The kind that comes when you finally understand something you have been avoiding understanding for a very long time. I was not in a relationship. I was in a prison. And I had handed over the key so gradually that I had not even noticed it happening. I did not leave that day. I wish I could tell you I did. But the truth is that leaving is not as simple as deciding to leave. When someone has spent years dismantling your confidence, your independence, your sense of your own judgment, the idea of walking out the door feels terrifying in a way that is almost impossible to explain to someone who has not lived it. Where would I go? How would I access money? What would he do when he found out? What would people think? Had I exaggerated everything in my own mind? Maybe he was right that I was too sensitive. Maybe this was normal. Maybe all relationships look like this from the inside. These are the thoughts that keep women in rooms they should have left years ago. But something shifted in me that day in the bathroom. Not enough to make me leave, but enough to make me start paying attention in a different way. Enough to make me start watching, listening, planning. I started small. I opened a bank account in my name only, at a different bank from the one we shared, and I had my paycheck direct deposited there instead. I told my employer there was a banking issue and the change needed to be made immediately. It took one phone call. Ryan did not notice for 3 weeks. When he did, I I told him the bank had made an error, and I was sorting it out. He believed me, or pretended to. Either way, for the first time in years, I had money that was mine. I started setting aside a small amount every week. Nothing that would be noticed, nothing dramatic. Just quietly, steadily building a foundation under my own feet. I called my sister. I told her some of what was happening. Not everything, because I was not ready for everything. But enough. She did not say I told you so. She just said, "Tell me what you need and I will be there." I cried again, but differently this time. I started talking to a lawyer, just a consultation, nothing official. I needed to understand what my rights were, what leaving would look like legally, what I was entitled to after 4 years of contributing to a life that was entirely in his name. The lawyer was calm and thorough, and did not make me feel stupid for not knowing these things. She made me feel like I had options. That was something I had forgotten I had. Over the next 6 months, I built my exit quietly and carefully. I moved important documents, my passport, my birth certificate, old financial records, to my sister's house 1 or 2 at a time, tucked inside grocery bags or a gym bag. I reconnected with friends he had pushed away, not telling them everything but letting them back in. I saved enough money to cover 3 months of expenses on my own. I found an apartment, signed the lease, paid the deposit, and told no one except my sister and my lawyer. Ryan had no idea. None. He was still correcting the way I loaded the dishwasher and telling me my opinions about things I knew well were uninformed. He was still the authority on everything, still the one who decided and approved and permitted, still absolutely certain that he had everything under control. He did not know that the woman sitting across from him at dinner every night had already left, that the only thing remaining was the logistics. The morning I chose was a Thursday. He had an important meeting at 10. I knew he would be distracted, focused on himself, not paying close attention. I made breakfast, same as always. I kissed him on the cheek. I told him I was going to the grocery store. I had already moved everything that mattered over the previous 2 weeks. The car I drove was mine, paid off, in my name. My sister was waiting at my new apartment. I drove away and I did not look in the rearview mirror. He called 17 times before noon. I let every call go to voicemail. His messages started confused, then concerned, then angry, then something that almost sounded like fear. I listened to all of them once, then deleted them. My lawyer sent him the separation paperwork that afternoon. I will not pretend the months that followed were easy. They were not. There were nights when I doubted myself, when I missed the version of him I had fallen in love with at 26, when the silence of my own apartment felt heavy instead of free. There were legal battles and difficult conversations and moments when I wondered if I had the strength to see it through. But there were also mornings when I woke up and chose what to wear without consulting anyone. Afternoons when I made plans with friends without asking permission. Evenings when I sat in my own space, in the quiet I had chosen, and felt something I had almost forgotten was possible. I felt like myself. That is what he had taken from me. Not just freedom of movement or financial independence or time with the people I loved. He had taken me. The version of me that existed before I learned to make myself smaller to fit inside the life he had decided we would have. I got her back. It took time and therapy and more courage than I knew I had. But I got her back. To anyone listening to this who recognizes something in this story, whether it is the small comments about what you wear, or the way plans always seem to need approval, or the quiet financial tightening, or the friends who have slowly disappeared from your life, I want you to hear this. What you are experiencing is not normal. It is not love. And you are not too sensitive, too dramatic, or too anything. You are someone who deserves a life that is entirely your own. And it is not too late to build one. This story was submitted by one of our viewers. Names and details have been changed to protect her identity. If you want to share your own story with us, The link is in the description. Every story deserves to be heard. If this resonated with you, please leave a comment below. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, share this video with them. Subscribe to Confess to Me for new stories every week.